Welcome everyone. In this particular presentation, we'll talk about critical thinking, how exactly we can foster critical thinking in us. So the agenda is very simple, very straightforward. It is a basic information on critical thinking. We will talk about from the perspective of PBL, that is problem-based learning. You will be an active participant, not a recipient of information in this particular presentation. Probably given a problem to solve, probably your success in problem solutions is the focus of our attention, and evaluation thereby will concern primarily with the process and not with the outcomes at all. So remember, this is what critical thinking is all about. It is not that ethical thinking we are talking about. It's a critical thinking, and critical thinking can arise only when you come up with innovative solutions to an existing problem. So that is what will be the agenda in this presentation. Let us understand the characteristics. What are the characteristics of critical thinkers? Care that their beliefs are true, that their decisions are justified. That is the care to get it right to the extent possible. This includes the dispositions to seek alternative hypothesis, explanation, conclusion, plan, sources, and be open towards them. This is what critical thinkers are all about. They endorse a positions to the extent that they seek, and but not only to extend that thing, but also justify the information that is available. They essentially, critical thinkers are essentially very well informed, and they ascertain a problem from a different point of view, and seriously from point of views then they're of their own altogether. And you have those alternative point of view which will open the window of opportunities as in find relatively novel solutions to the problem thereby. So that is the characteristics of critical thinker. The other characteristics of critical thinkers is to present a honest position very clearly without mincing any of their words or that of their others. This disposition includes to be clear about what is the intended meaning or the outcome of what has been said or what has been mentioned, otherwise communicated, seeking as much information and precision as the situation requires. Determine and maintain focus on the conclusion or the question. Seek and offer responses for their opinions and conclusions thereby. Take into account the total situation. Be reflectively aware of their own basic belief. And that what is all the qualities of critical thinkers is all about it. They know about their position. They are very clear about it. They understand it minutely, and if they are not able to understand, they will seek data, they will seek information and precise information before they come up with it, with the solutions altogether. Remember, they are not only focusing on the question but also on the outcomes as to reason it conclusively for the opinions. The third characteristics of critical thinkers are they are not concerned with their own point of view, but they are more concerned with others' point of view and treat it with respect, with dignity. They do not rubbish the claims of others' viewpoints. They actually give more values to it, and in the process they discover, they listen to others viewpoint, and solution comes out from their perspective also, avoiding intimidating or confusing others, taking into account other feelings, level of understanding. There are concerns about others welfare, they are concerned about educating others on the issue as the case might be. What are we looking at? Steps in critical thinking: formulating your argument, focus on a question. Now we'll talk about the steps. What are the questions that comes around it? Identify, formulate the question. Or in fact, I would recommend if you can rephrase the question in a total different fashion, because once you start rephrasing questions from different angle, you will be able to create criteria for judging of possible answer, and so in the process of possible answer will give you ample of opportunities to think of a good one, good solution. So develop a plan for collecting data for this solutions part. Now develop an argument, generate premises, conclusion, the whereas and thereof thing. Develop reasoning steps for all the conclusions, as in what is happening, the whys and thereof. So steps in critical thinking. We have to analyze the arguments, identify conclusion, identify unstated responses or reasons, identify stated reason. People will say something, people will mean something different, people will actually presume something else. So we need to identify every of those state that comes around it, the stated reason, the unstated reason. We need to handle the irrelevance or relevant argument, see the structure of an argument, and probably come to a conclusion. That is what we are looking into it. See, we started with the conclusion as an end objective. We need to summarize in the process what went wrong. People might say something, might mean something, and might understand something else. So you need to understand the stated and unstated reason, how to handle irrelevance or relevance, probably within the structure of the argument. So steps in critical thinking is all about clarifying arguments. Now this is one which we need to understand. There are 10 questions that you need to always ask when you are uh, encountered with a problem. First and foremost thing, why did it happen? Why is it the main question? Second most would be, what is the main point? Now, this is the point of contentions, as the case might be. Why are people contesting, or why is there, what exactly is the problem all about it? Third is, what do you mean by it? What would be an example? What would be an exception? How does that apply to this case? Describe a case which might well appear to be counter example. What difference does it make altogether? What are the facts? Is this what you are saying? Would you say something more about that? And things like it. Things like it altogether. The steps in critical thinking: knowing, analyzing sources, judge the credibility of a source, major criteria, but not necessarily condition. Now, what are we looking at? The credibility of a source? It's your expertise, lack of conflict of interest, agreement among the sources, reputation or risk to reputation, as the case might be, use of established procedures, and ability to give reason. Now, this is where your credible sources are all about it. Now, you have to maintain the criteria, but believe me or not, I'm just giving you an idea for it. These are not sacrosanct. You have to make your own, probably in accordance with the situation. First is your expertise. Talk to the expert, the subject matter expert out there. Then look for the conflict of interest. If there are any conflict of interest are there. If not, what is lacking in terms of conflict of interest? What are the agreement from the sources, reputation? What is being put upon on the altar? Is it the reputation, or is it the risk to reputation? Use of established procedures and ability to give reasons thereof. That is what we are looking around it. Now, steps in critical thinking: knowing the basis for decision. Example, guilt or innocence of an accused criminal defendant. Is the evidence physical or circumstantial? How you go across it? How good is the evidence? Were there any eyewitnesses? How reliable are they? Direct observations are strong evidence because of minimal interference involved. There are certain things called short time interval between observations and report. Report by observers rather than someone else. That is, the report is not hearsay and can be verified every now and then. We need to look for corroboration or possibilities of corroboration, good access to actual physical evidences, competent employment of technologies. If technology is being used in the first place, so if you can know the tech know-how, probably go ahead with it. But if the problem is not on tech basis, it is on a social or community sentiment basis, probably you have to think it otherwise. So satisfaction by the observers and the reporters, if a different person of credibility criteria has been existing around here, you need to point it out irrespective of what has been happening. Remember, example is of innocence, of guilt, of the accused criminal defendant. Now let us talk to the conclusion part. What is the inferences? Now we can have two ways of inferences. One is induction method, that is moving from specific to general, the argument based on observation or experience, or deduction maybe, moving from general to specific. So one is induced, you are moving to specific from a general understanding, or one is deduced. What is moving from general understanding to a specific argument? So argument based on laws, rules, widely accepted principles, and that what is, will give you the inferences of coming out of it, out of box solutions. Now, giving you a typical explanatory conclusions altogether, there are something called causal claims, wherein treatment cause improvement in the strength and mobility. What treatment X or treatment Y, treatment Z will improve in agility, improve in your muscular density, as the case might be. Why? Because you must have got causal claims, you must have got good exercise, you must have got good nutrients, and that is the result in improvement in your strength and mobility. Whereas claims about belief and attitude on other people, the American people want more security than prosperity. So everybody is looking for more security, more stability than probably about happiness. It's all about the claims of beliefs and attitude. Do you look for happiness, or do you want to be secure? Do you want to be stable? You want to have a stable life? You want to have happy life or a stable life? So interpretation of others' intent and meaning. Now she is always too late. Does so she must not be really want to do this, as the case might be. It's an inference that we have prolonged the sentence. You have a urgent meeting and you have already called all the stakeholders to come to the meeting on a specific time. Probably when a person is coming late, you assume that this person is not interested in the agenda, or is not giving the due importance to the agenda altogether, and that is what we are extending our inferences altogether, the interpretation. Next one would be your historical claim that certain things happen. Why? Because the fact is that history repeats itself. He woke up in a bath type of ice, probably missing a kidney. Now, this is, we have thinking that every time somebody wakes up in a bathtub of ice, probably has not played football, has not gone to a physical endurance exercises or something like that, but probably must have been robbed of a kidney altogether. It's an historical claim because it is done that the deja vu feeling that creeps in altogether. So these are the types of explanatory conclusion that comes about. Right. Now, get the data right, get your facts right, design experiments, including the planning to control variable. When we are talking about critical thinking, you need to have your data at disposal. You need to ensure that those variables that is there, are they independent variables or a dependent variables? Are there a regression analysis that can be come or apply toward them? Seek evidences and counter evidences. This is what we are looking forward to it every now and then. Seek other possible explanation. Evaluate the strength of available evidences with the focus of methodology. Absolutely focus on the methodology, as the case might be. Judging conclusion. Coming to the conclusion part is proposing a conclusion without evidence. Can you propose a conclusion without evidence? Will it be acceptable? Look for it. If it is acceptable, that means it is satiating everybody's needs altogether. The proposed conclusion is consistent with all known fact that has been publicly available for public consumption, for general consumption. Competitive alternative expectation are consistent with facts, as in the data that comes around it. So one is completely an autocratic scenario without any evidences. You come to the conclusion. If it is the either the regiment is very autocratic in nature, or probably it satiates everybody's claim. When the proposed conclusion is consistent with the relevant facts which is there in the public domain, probably definitely it is acceptable, or probably being consistent, or competitive alternative explanations with are inconsistent with the fact, where we are not able to rationalize the things time and again. The last one is the proposed conclusion seem plausible, probably less important than 1, 2, and 3. Is an out of box solutions probably is plausible. People might not have thought about it in due courses and are looking into the advantages thereof. So we need to ask question which tests our knowledge, question which tests our understanding, questions that can stir a honestness. No. For example, let me give you a question. Do infant dreams? Infants who is not even a 3 months old, they keep on sleeping. These, in fact, pass a majority of our daytimes in this sleep. So, do they dream? Does caffeine make people anxious? Question needs to be asked. Are some people born evil? Do have evil disposition, negative disposition the moment we have um, come on this planet? Does smoking leads to eventually a lung cancer? Are dreams and indications of our unconscious desires and conflict? Is physical therapy beneficial? Now, these are the questions that we all want to have an answer, and probably these can be administered, testable, and probably come with certain degree of consistencies or conclusion, certain degree of confidence in your conclusion. Probably you may not be having 100% confident about it, but definitely you have an inferences out there. So causal arguments are, let's say, try a truck, bicycle, and car, for example. What causes the accident? So you will see the more the mass, the more the reasons of there being an accident. It's always sure a truck would be more relevant. A car next best in terms of masses, and bicycle doesn't have such kind of masses. So what caused the accident? The one significant different idea is inductive. The two important rules: cause must precedes the effect in time, and correlation does not prove causation. And believe me or not, it might be the truck which might cause the accident. It might be the car which probably does have the relevantly smaller mice and has a immense amount of speed that can be going around. But it is the bicycle, despite without any mass around it, it is much more maneuverable, and this might lead to a lot of an accident. And in case of any of the accidents that happen, the vehicle with the least mass gets the most destroyed, gets the most negative implications in an accident. So you need to understand there are nothing called correlation. Whose fault it is, we are not talking about it. Who gets the most negative outcomes of the accident, I'm not here to discuss. It's a correlation which we can draw it out, thus prove the causation. Remember, causes must precede the effect in time. If you can come up with such arguments, you will be able to win the solutions every moment, every now, every then. With this, we come to an end of this critical thinking as our presentation. Thank you for watching the video.